All right. Hey, everyone. Oh, this picture is not that clear. Hold on. Did that help? I don't know. This is what happens when I use my Mac without using um, the little camera that I put on top. So sorry for the fuzziness. I am not at home at my usual setup, but wanted to make sure that I hopped on for Ask Me Anything. So welcome to Wednesday. Tonight is Ask Me Anything. I am Dr. Latoya Davis, and we get to spend time answering questions. I am here to respond to the questions that the people have. Sometimes the questions come from the live chat, and sometimes the questions are pre sent to me, right? So if you are new to me, you can always send me questions via DM. I'm on social media, Chi Healing Institute. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram, or through my mail, right? So I pretty much like to talk about and specialize and work in the areas of, I like to say, is where spirit, science, and kind of metaphysics come together. I specialize in the Akashic Records, working with the ancestors, have classes and courses on spirit guides, mindset, self empowerment. So, all of the things. All right. So, when you find me, go ahead, like, subscribe, share, all of the things. I do have some questions that I have received over the last few days. I did a really short video on it last night, and I realized that I missed some questions in that short video. So I'm going to start with those in case no one jumps on. I normally do Ask Me Anything a little bit later. So tonight is a time that I don't normally do it, but I am otherwise engaged at the time that I normally do Ask Me Anything. So I did push the time up a little bit earlier today. So the questions that I received were around the Akashic Records. All right. Um, so last night I touched on, so if you can catch that video if you like, last night I touched on, were the Akashic Records dangerous? And I touched on, I don't remember the other thing I touched on. But tonight I want to just kind of talk about, we talked about what comes up in the records, right? Kind of dealing with or navigating what comes up in the records, and self-care, essentially, right? So tonight I want to talk a little bit about myself, particularly. My work is centered around empowerment. Right. It is centered around helping people understand that you are your own best resource. And yes, sometimes we absolutely, it is necessary for us to go and get outside guidance or assistance or whatever, right? Because we might have traumas or triggers or just conditioning that makes it so that we are, one, not able to access or trust our own intuition. Sometimes we are not able to detach from a problem or something that we're having. So, us getting a perspective from within ourselves can be complicated. But in general, I find that we are going outside of ourselves to get guidance and information on things that we can absolutely tap in within ourselves if we had that trust, right? If we had that trust and that belief. So, one of the things that I really, really strongly believe in is empowering people and providing tools that help you be able to get your own guidance, right? That help you be able to kind of course correct and reset yourself. And some of it is really simple, right? One of the ways that is effective at trusting yourself and really starting to develop your own personal intuition is, we start small, right? So we always start small with this. But one way that's really, really powerful is at the top of your day. Um, hey, Regina, at the top of your day, just being clear about your intention. Set one thing that you want to see, experience, have happen, right? And again, we're starting small. So make it something that is in the realm of feasibility, right? So we're not going to jump out the gate being like, today I want to I can't even think of anything outlandish, but right. But we're going to start small with something that is really doable and accessible, right? I like to say really good is something that I can see, right? Something that you can see throughout the day, and you just set that intention, and you set the intention with the full expectation that it's going to happen. A lot of times we set things and we're trying to what I call test spirit, right? So it's like I'm gonna do this, but I bet it ain't gonna happen, right? Let me say this, but watch it don't come to pass. That's testing spirit, right? And so we don't move in the vein or in the spirit of doing things to test spirit for it to fail, right? When we set the intention, when we do the work, when we say the prayer, when we say the affirmation, whatever that is, we follow that with the energy that it is absolutely going to happen, right? And then when it doesn't, I was talking to my friend today, and she was talking about how something she'd been working on just wasn't working out for her, tried all of the things, right? And this is somebody who stuff pops for them pretty easily, and so she was like, she had to get to the point where she said, wait, why is this happening for me? And I've mentioned to you all before, one of the things that has really helped me progress in life is shifting my perspective to the question of why is this thing happening for me, right? So nothing ever happens to me, even if it's bad, right? I asked the question, why is this happening for me, to help give myself the perspective or to allow myself to understand what are some of the variables that are showing up that I have the power, the ability to change. What am I being kept from? Whatever that is. And it takes you from this place of being disempowered to a place of being empowered, right? As long as you're in the space of woe is me, or stuff is happening to me, or why is this always happening to me, we are again giving our power, giving our strength to something external. And the goal is always to kind of bring that back in, understand that we are the creators of our own reality. And I'm not saying that we make that mind shift overnight, right? Because we didn't get to a place of disempowerment overnight, right? So just like it took us a minute to build the pattern of being disempowered, it takes us a minute of repatterning to reclaim and regain our power. But what's important is understanding that that is the perspective, that is the goal, that is what you're to working towards. And so when you find yourself in those spaces of disempowerment, just take a moment and say, okay, wait a minute, I'm a shift. There's a shift that I need to make here, and then make the adjustment, right? I always tell my kids, it's never too late to make a new choice, right? No matter what you did before, right now you can make a different choice. Okay. So, hey, everybody that's here. If you're here, go ahead, hit the like, drop a comment in the chat so I know that you're here. This is Ask Me Anything. So if you have a question, feel free to drop it in the chat. I will answer questions as they pop up. I'm just kind of talking right now in this moment. So yeah, if somebody has a question, go ahead and drop it. And if not, I will just keep going on this. Hey, Tori. I will just keep going kind of down this path. Oh, excuse me, before I keep going. So just a reminder, if you are not on my mailing list, or kind of in my circle or in my sphere, right, we have an upcoming live virtual Akashic Records class, which is October 12th and 13th. Is that next weekend? It feels like that's next weekend. October 12th and 13th. It is a 2-day class. It is for people who have studied the records, who have not studied the records. One of the things that I pride myself on being is an amazing teacher. And so, one, I think, again, the perspective that I come from and that I teach from is one of this idea of empowerment. It is one of not just information gathering. And so no matter what your experience has been previously, I do believe that I continue to offer different perspectives, different ways of thinking. And I do energy work and clearing work and all of that stuff in the class. So if you're interested in that, the link is in the comment, the description. So feel free to check that out. Another thing I want to talk about are ancestors. And I'm going to tie this into this empowerment or disempowerment thing as well, right? So I used to be like really timid in talking about this because if you don't know, I come out of the practice of ATR, so African traditional religion systems, right? So I'm an initiated priestess in a few systems, and our concept in how we venerate, honor ancestors is pretty specific. Um, but the lens that happens through differed from what I started to experience once I really started to step into my power and I started doing ancestral lineage healing work. My ancestral lineage healing work was a download, right? So meaning it wasn't something that I studied, it wasn't something that I set out to do. It was literally, I was going through my Reiki certification, and the Reiki master at the time, we had to kind of pick a specialization. And then she was talking to us, and I was like, oh no, this is what I want to do. I study crystals, I study herbs, all of that stuff. And so I was like, well, my specialization is going to be infusing or really focusing on using crystals and herbs to assist in energy work as I do this Reiki. And she was like, yeah, I'm getting this message that you are going to be doing work with the ancestors. Now, again, I've been doing work with the ancestors because I'm in this system. But the way that work was very, I like to say, transactional, right? So it's like, I go to you because I want this thing, and or I am beholden to the ancestors as the leader, right? So, well, my ancestors don't want me to do this. The ancestors can't do that. I got to go ask the ancestors for this, right? So I get this download about the ancestral lineage healing process. And, at first I'm just doing it, don't know if it works, but okay, great. I got it. I'm team trust spirit, right? When spirit tells me something, I don't typically sit in it for a long time because life has shown me that my spirit is right. Right. So I'm going with it. First person, amazing results. She is like over the moon telling people. So now I'm getting people, right? Having sessions. And I'm like, okay, wait, this is working. So now I'm having to say, let me assess what's happening right now. Right. And what I realized in that is the perspective of I am a, not passenger, that's not the right word. I am a passive. I'm a passive person. That's still not the right word. I'm behind. It's like the idea that they're the lead and I'm behind. I had to challenge that, right? It started to create some dissonance in my head because I'm doing this practice that was a download and it's working, and the work is happening instantly, right? So in my own personal practice, I started to shift how I was working with the ancestors. And I started to take this perspective of this understanding that if I am I am my ancestors, right? That's not science says. Science says that if you test my DNA, if you test my blood, right, you're going to find these traces of these people who came before me. And likewise, we can go in and test my blood and then go backwards, right? So I am a culmination of all of those who have come before me. So if I took that premise and extended it out and now incorporated what I know with universal laws and understanding the field of energy and understanding that all things are energy, if I took all of these things together, then I had to say, wait a minute, I must have some type of agency in being able to shift the energetic qualities of those ancestors who were there. And if I can direct the energy for every other thing, right? If I can direct the energies for every other thing, then why can I not shift the energetic components that are literally within me? Am I not able to move energy and molecules and molecular things within my body if I can do to these things externally? So all of those questions, I'm sorry, this was not supposed to be the long rabbit hole version of this story, but here we are. So all of those questions had me, like I said, it shifted how I started to work with the ancestors. And ultimately, I got to this place where I recognized that, no, I am the current steward, essentially, of this bloodline, right? And because of that, I get to position what we're doing. So I completely shifted the narrative of now I'm going to go to my ancestors and ask for, can I do, should I do, would I do? But this was also in alignment for me because in doing soul work, which I do, in my expansion of understanding how we exist in the universe through soul, because of my work in the Akashic Records, it made sense that I had this ability to kind of shift that. So started basically just removing myself from this disempowered place. This is, I'm bringing it back. Started shifting myself from this disempowered place. And I see you, Regina. Started shifting myself from this disempowered place of my work with the ancestors and putting myself in a place of empowerment, which says, again, not let me go bowed head, tail between my legs, begging and pleading for these things to happen, but let me say, I am the creator of this reality. And hey, y'all, this is what we're doing. Jump on board. Let's support me. Now, in that, there are things, right? We absolutely have ancestral traumas. We have all of those things. And again, that's how the ancestral lineage work supports that, because we start to shift the energies that unravel and untwist all of those things so that it is easier for those ancestors to support you in the things that you are trying to do. But the main shift was changing my perspective from the position of I am beholden to, they said I can't do this, so I can't do that, to saying I am the creator of my own reality, and you're going to support me in this thing. One of the things that I teach and I talk about a lot is it's really important to understand the spiritual pantheon, right? So we have ancestors, they're angels, they're deities, there are disincarnate spirits, there are all of these different things, right? There are ascended masters, all of these different energies that kind of make up the spirit realm. And each of those energies has a role, right? Each of those energies has a role. And when you start to understand the role of that energy, then also it helps you put into perspective how you are taking the information that you're getting from them and how you're putting that into play, right? So for the ancestors, the role or the purpose of the ancestors is for the continuation of the ancestral lineage. That's their job. They want to make sure that the lineage continues to move on and thrive, right? But we have to also understand, y'all, I'm giving y'all a whole class right now because this is what I teach in like my real classes. So we're really going deeper. But um where was I? I don't know, the thought just went away. Ancestors, um purpose, role. Purpose is to continuation of the ancestral lineage, right? So if they are tasked with making sure that the ancestral lineage continues, but and also their experience of living in this 3D reality is locked into the time that they lived and they died, right? You don't get to die in 1950 and then experience life in 2024, right? Your perception, your realities, your all of the things are based on your time that you were living, right? The experiences that you had that you were living, the traumas, the successes, the victories, all of that stuff is based during that time. So we have to say, if, again, their goal is the continuation of the lineage, but their perspective is based on this time frame, there could be some instances where their perspective and what I'm doing now are just not congruent because times have changed, right? I used to have a client who's she's Haitian, and she used to always talk about, like, in Haitian culture, basically in Haitian, in her family, she was old. Was she in her 20s? I think she's in her 20s. I think she's in her 20s. Like, she's old, like she's past the point of getting married. And so, like, she had these ancestors who would always come up when we'd be in sessions, and basically it was like, why are you working, why are you doing this thing, right? All of this stuff. And it's because right, it's because from their perspective, a woman who has a job, who has a career, who is empowered, is a detriment to the lineage. All right. So I'm going to stop with that. Question says, can you say which ATR I am a priestess in? It'll help frame my questions now and in class. I'm initiated into the Asheshe tradition. So the Yoruba, So I'm Orisha, but out of Nigeria, and I'm also Apollo, Ayayi Apollo. What makes perfect sense, what you were saying about embodiment of the ancestors. Thank you for that. You are very, very welcome. So any other questions? Because I've gone on my rant for long enough tonight. If there are no other questions, all right. So if there are no other questions, I am here. I think the next time is at the last Wednesday of the month, because I'm traveling, doing quite a bit of traveling this month. So it's the last Wednesday of the month is the next Ask Me Anything. Again, you can always pre-submit questions. The Akashic Record class is October 12th and 13th. I'm doing another answered question. No, I'm doing an energy clearing. I'm doing a free energy clearing on, I believe it's October 9th. I might be wrong on the date, might be the 8th. It's coming up. It's a free, it's going to be a guided journey on, did I say where it is? Y'all, I don't know. Like, I put stuff out and then I forget what I say. If you're on my mailing list, you saw it in the newsletter. If you're not on my mailing list, if you follow me on Facebook, if you look at my little the Facebook cover, all of the dates for the month are on the Facebook cover. And because I don't remember. But it's free. If you've ever experienced any of my kind of guided journeys or attunements, you know that my clearing work and my energy things are top notch. So it will not be recorded and there will not be a replay. So it's kind of, you are there or you're not. But I am going to start doing these more frequently. I intend to do them once a month. I just have to figure out, the way that I figure out what I like and how I like it is by doing it. So it'll probably take me a few times to do it before I figure out like which platform I want to do it on, how I want to send it out. So I think this month, I really don't remember where I said I'm doing it at. I think I might be streaming it on YouTube and into Facebook. If the goal is lineage continuation, what does that mean for the childless, or do you not mean that literally? Well, you're not the only person in your lineage. So, there are, hopefully you're not the only person left in your lineage, right? So there's still that aspect, because if you are, then when you're done, then that means your lineage is over. But I highly doubt, even like I'll use my dad for an example. My dad, who passed almost a year ago, y'all. Anyway, in his family, like he literally was almost the last one, right? That we know of. He's Bahamian in descent. So I'm going to say here in the US, right? All of his sisters died when he was young. Mom, dad died. He had one nephew who died like maybe a few months before he died. So like, logically it's like, okay, wait, I mean, but then there's us. But if I look at like from the Davis side of it, right, that line pretty much had ended. But there's going to always be another progenitor, right? And we don't know what's in Bahamas. It could be a whole clan of Davises running around there. So when I say that the ancestors are concerned, the task or role of the ancestors is for the continuation of the lineage. It is not, I don't want you to take on the responsibility of, oh my gosh, it is my job to make sure that my lineage continues. You are absolutely not the only person in your lineage. All right. But when the ancestors are giving perspective, when the ancestors are giving information, when they're giving guidance, when they are coming to you, the perspective that they are giving that information from is the continuation of the lineage. Right? Just like, I'm going to juxtapose this, just like when we are accessing or receiving information while in the Akashic Records, that perspective is coming from soul level. That the role, or the role, I guess I'll continue to use that word, that the information is coming from in that regard is about your soul being as aligned to the version of itself or yourself, right? The version of itself that is as connected to source as it can be, right? Despite the choices that you've made to deviate. Like, it's always about, no, at soul level, you are absolutely perfect. The choices that you are making are absolute. Hey, but now here are some reasons why this might be happening. So let's look at that, right? So it's perspective. I always give this exercise of, you can take one question and ask it to different things, right? You can take one question, ask it to your spirit guides, you can ask it to your ancestors, and you can ask it within the Akashic records. And although the directive or what comes out of it may be the same, if you go in with the perspective and say, okay, wait, how can I look at these three things differently? You will see in real time the perspective that each of those energies have, right? The role of the spirit guide or spirit guides is to help you manifest essentially the things that you said that you desire, right? So all of those things are there. Am I using Reiki or some other modality for clearing energy? In large group settings, no, I don't use Reiki. Sometimes in individual sessions, depending on what comes up, I typically go with flow or with spirit. In general, though, in open group spaces, I don't do Reiki on people. I don't do Reiki without people's permission. And so typically when I start these sessions with the intention of doing group work, I am doing those clearings and that work within or kind of connected to universal source again, which is this idea of working within the realm of the Akash. How does one protect their destiny? I don't think that people need to protect their destiny. I don't think that someone, people talk about like someone can steal your destiny. So I am team, if you think you can, you can. If you think you can, if you think you can't, you're both right, right? So if I believe that if I walk around with the fear that someone is going to steal my destiny, then somebody is probably going to steal my destiny, even though that's just really strange, right? And I also don't believe that there is one path. So I believe that where people get locked and where we get kind of stuck around this idea of destiny. Side note, I have a really good conversation on my podcast, Aligned, Liberated, and Abundant, with wait, did it publish yet? Yeah. Her name is Kimberly. I'm gonna mess up her last name, so I'm not gonna say her last name. But if you go to, or if you can just Google, or in YouTube, put Aligned, Liberated, and Abundant, and look up the one that has me with her. Kimberly is her first name. But we go on this, we have this kind of this segment in the conversation where we start talking about purpose and destiny, right? And she is a shaman. She is I think she's a voodoo priestess. And she also kind of just deals in this realm of universal consciousness, right? So we go into this thing. So back to the point at hand. So I think one, we have to be clear on terminology, right? And when one person says destiny, it could absolutely mean something else from somebody else. So as I started to answer that question, I realized I needed to back up and be a little bit clearer about what I mean when I am saying that. Okay. So for me, a lot of times people come to me and they ask me questions like, what is my purpose? Or, what am I supposed to be doing? What is my destiny here in this world? Right. And I believe that what they're really saying and what they're trying to get to is like, what's this thing what is this one path or this one way that I should be showing up in the world, right? And I don't believe in that, right? I believe that um we all have a soul blueprint, which kind of in that soul blueprint has our energetic archetype, which basically says, if you're familiar with like, what's that thing called? Human design, right? How they have like generator, manifestor generators, like all of those things. In the Akashic Records, there's also this idea of an energetic archetype, which basically says kind of how you are designed to show up in the world, right? But it doesn't say you're going to do this job or do this task. It's kind of bigger picture, like your contribution, or you have the capacity. That's the other thing, right? We have, as humans, one of the reasons we incarnate into kind of this 3D reality is because we have the freedom of choice, right? And before I decided to incarnate, I could have absolutely said, you know what, I want to go and be a sloth. Meaning not doing anything, not a bum, not like a, but like just chilling, just, hanging out, doing, not really accomplishing anything, right? But along the way, some experience, some choices, some things, got some elevation, whatever. And I was like, yeah, this is cool, but I want to do something else. I absolutely have that right and that choice to do that, right? And I can make choices that continues to elevate me and shift me and realign me. It doesn't change though if my natural energetic quality is to be laid back and all of these things, then when I do this next thing, that's still going to show up, right? The path that we get to something is not set in stone, right? If I said my goal is to get to New York, I think that's funny that I just brought that up because this is one of the things we talked about in the episode. If I say I want to get to New York, I can walk to New York, I can fly to New York, I can drive to New York, I can catch a train to New York, right? All of those things I got there. Maybe not with the walking. I might not get there if I decided to walk, but all of the other things I still got to New York, right? One was very scenic. It was slow. I got to look at the trees. I got to think about some things along the way. The other one was so fast that I didn't get to experience, but I got there and now I'm here and I get to do this next thing. But in all of those, I got there. So oftentimes I find, again, when people are like, what is my thing or how is this thing? They're saying, what is this thing that I'm supposed to do? And I'm saying there is not a thing that you're supposed to do. There is a way that you are set up to show up in the world. And when you find that, when you lock into that and you show up in the world in that way, whatever other thing you decide and how you decide to get to the other thing will happen naturally, right? When we get into the mindset of, or we get locked into this other thing, we create fear, we start to self-sabotage, one of my other things is comparison is the thief of joy, right? So then we start to compare, well, why am I not here and why am I not there and why is this person doing that? I say focus on, so back to the original question, how do we not let somebody steal our destiny? We don't let somebody steal our destiny by coming super, super, super in tune with who we are aligned or not destined, who we are within ourselves, right? That soul self. Who am I at soul level? And that is internal work. That is, so why I do the thing of teaching people how to let go of societal expectations, ancestral programming, and karmic ties is so that you can hear who you are at soul level. Oftentimes we can't hear who we are at soul level because we're running the program of someone and something else. And that's when life becomes complicated, right? That's when it doesn't feel good. That's when we're always trying to shrink or shift or adjust or, compress ourselves. Nah, we taking up space, y'all. So when you come from the perspective of understanding who and how you are at soul level, then for me, everything else just kind of starts to fall into place. And again, understanding that there is no one path to do a thing. I often get people who are like healers, right? I use air quotes because that could mean a multitude of things to, to whoever's hearing it, right? But there are many ways to do healing, right? I remember once someone was she was a beautician. Like I did her soul blueprint, and the energetic archetype that she had was I can't remember exactly now, but it dealt with kind of this healing energy or this love energy that translates into kind of helping people heal, right? And so my next thing was like, so what do you do? What's your profession? She was like, well, I'm a beautician. And so at first I was like, right? I'm trying to say, okay, let's see, are we in the line? How can we get this thing to align? And then I realized that is absolutely healing, right? How often do sometimes we go into the salon, not our best self, not feeling like we don't look good, all of the things that's happening in our head. We sit down in that chair. If that person is a great holder of space, we're talking, I'm letting go, we're washing hair. And then at the end, she shows me the mirror and I'm like, yes, right now I got a spark in my step. I can go feel confident for this job. That is healing. So even though it doesn't take the path, it doesn't look like a doctor, or it doesn't look like a this, or it doesn't look like a that. She is absolutely still in her purpose, or still in her energy of healing. So I say, be gentle with ourselves, right? Be expansive with ourselves, and understanding all of the possibilities and ways that things could show up. Myself, so you say you have cousins, but that your direct line ends with you and your brother. But there is never a direct line, because there's always iterations of how ancestry comes together, right? So I have a brother, but even if we have the same mother and father, right? But even if I looked at our ancestral, and he has kids, I have kids, right? If I looked at us, from an ancestral line, he could have picked up some other things from my dad's side, right? This is like those recessive genes. Now people have like, wait, how does this person have blue eyes and both of the parents look like this, right? There is no direct line. All of the lines are mixed, right? As soon as you have a child with someone else, the line is mixed. The only way to have a direct line is if everybody was procreating with everybody in the same line, and then we would just all be blind, and all of the things that happens with genetic defects, right? So there is no direct line, right? There's always, I'm using this because they say never say ever, right? Never say always, none of those things, right? But somewhere, just because you don't know them doesn't mean that they don't exist. Like how you see those people doing ancestry.com is be like, I found my cousin from 5, what you call it's removed, right? On ancestry.com. There's somebody somewhere. Trust them. Super helpful. Thank you. Yes. All right. Thank y'all for showing up. I appreciate it, y'all. I hope that this has been good for you. If you haven't liked it, go ahead and like it. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't. And again, I will see y'all the last Wednesday. I don't know the day. The last Wednesday. The last Wednesday of the month. All right, y'all. Have a great night. Bye.